Hey everyone, I'm Connor from No Passport Needed, where I'm making a dish from every country in the world. This is the first episode, so if you'd like to follow along, learn about some new foods, and maybe even cook some along with me, feel free to subscribe. Today we're starting with Ethiopia's national dish, Doro Wat, a delicious chicken stew filled with lots of onions, spices, and aromatics that are sure to fill your house with some amazing smells. We'll also make some injera, a kind of sourdough pancake to accompany our chicken stew. Alright, let's get cooking. So to start, we have a few ingredients to prep, the first of which is Berbere. Berbere is a spice blend with lots of variations, but the one we're using today includes smoked paprika, cinnamon, dried basil, ground garlic, ground ginger, nutmeg, fenugreek, cumin, cardamom, and freshly ground black pepper. Combine all of those together and then realize that you forgot a key ingredient, cayenne pepper, for its kick. Add the cayenne and whisk together. We won't be using all of this, but it's great on lots of different foods. Set it aside for later. Next up, we have to prep our injera, that sourdough pancake I mentioned. Injera is made of teff flour made from the teff grain native to Ethiopia. I have dark teff flour here, but lighter is traditional. Water, and that quarantine sourdough starter with a witty name you're overly proud of. Traditionally, injera is made over a period of a few days using only teff flour and water, similar to a sourdough starter. But the method I'm using here allows you to make it the day of. Measure out a quarter cup of your starter, 1 3/4 cups water, and mix together before combining with your teff flour. After mixing, it should resemble something like melted chocolate ice cream. Set aside for a few hours to let that sourdough starter work its magic. Now to prep our hard-boiled eggs, place them in a pot, add water until they're covered by about an inch, and turn on the burner. Once we reach a rolling boil, take the eggs off of the heat and cover for 6 minutes. After 6 minutes, remove the eggs and place in an ice bath to stop the cooking, giving them a quick stir. After cooling, peel them one by one and set aside. For our chicken stew, we need some chicken, right? We're using about 2 pounds of thigh and drumstick here. Cut a lemon in half and squeeze it over the chicken, catching any of the lemon seeds. Give the chicken a quick toss and let that marinate. Moving on to the veggies, the bulk of the stew is made up of red onion. This is an intimidating amount of onion, so rather than chop up all 6 by hand, just cut the ends off, peel the onions, and toss them into your food processor. Put as many as you can in there before realizing your food processor is too small for 6 onions. Process until you have space to fit those last 2 onions, and then process some more. Realize that you may have gone beyond finely chopped and hit onion puree, but this should work just fine. Finally, we'll peel 1 inch of ginger using the back of a spoon. Cut that in half, and then mince before also mincing 3 cloves of garlic. Finally, we can get cooking. Heat a heavy-bottomed saucepan over medium-low and pour in your chopped onions. We're gonna let these cook down for about an hour to sweeten them up and lose some of their sharpness, so be sure to stir occasionally. After the first hour, go ahead and add in your berbere, garlic, and ginger and give it a mix. Pour in a cup of water before adding your marinated chicken and realizing your pot is too small. Transfer to an appropriately sized pot. After simmering for about 20 minutes, add a tablespoon of garam masala and let it go for another 20 minutes. While the stew finishes up, we can cook our injera. After a few hours with the starter, it has a nice tangy scent. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, quickly stir, before adding 1/2 cup of our batter into a hot nonstick pan over medium heat and tilt the pan to spread evenly across the bottom, similar to a crepe. Let it cook for about a minute uncovered before covering and cooking for an additional minute. When that minute's up, invert the injera onto a wire rack to cool. Repeat the process with the remaining batter. It may take a few tries to get the temp of the pan and timing right. Clearly there's a learning curve. Go on! Last but not least, add your hard-boiled eggs to the stew and give them a stir. Make sure your chicken is cooked all the way through before plating it up. Traditionally, the injera is set on the plate first with stews and meats served on top of it. You then eat with your hands by tearing off a piece of the injera and picking up other foods with it. Give it a minute to cool before diving in, otherwise you'll end up like I did with some burnt hands. Apart from the burning fingers, I really liked this. The Berbere spice was really rich, with a lot of cinnamon and nutmeg coming through. The onions were mellowed and actually quite sweet. The chicken was super juicy. And lastly, the tang from the injera played really well with the warmth from the Berbere. I'd definitely eat this again, but I'd do a few things differently, namely not over-processing the onions, not adding too much water, using the correct size pot from the get-go, and I might even make some of the ingredients further in advance, like the Berbere and eggs. Let me know what you think, or if you have any countries you'd like to see next in the comments down below. Thanks for watching!